Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, this is Confessions with Cassidy, but today I am doing something a little bit different. When I started this channel, I was super focused on confessions, which I love, but I also, I'm the kind of person that loves to give advice. I love to listen to people. I, for one, have gone through enough storms in my life to hopefully be able to give at least a little bit of good advice. And, at least the stuff that has worked for me over the past couple years. This video today is a very personal one, but I think the majority of us have gone through it, unfortunately. And that is how to get over someone you never actually dated. Yeah, it is. I would say it is even harder than breaking up with somebody that was yours, that you had a partnership with. There was trust, there was love. For sure, a classic breakup is horrific, and I'm sure I'll speak about that in another video. But today we're talking about the kind where there's nothing to leave behind. So let me start off by saying I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist. I am just a 26-year-old girl with some experience of shitty men in her 20s. And I think I'll start off by telling a little bit of a story of my almost. I met this gentleman when I was about 20 years old. I was a young spring chicken, and when I met this guy, I thought my world was finally in HD. For the first time, I felt like somebody really looked at me and really kind of saw me, and that was amazing, especially for a young woman to have a connection with somebody that made them feel seen. I felt exactly that. I felt seen. Now, as a 26-year-old, I know that there was so much toxic behavior from both our sides. It was not a relationship I would wish on anyone. It's a relationship I learned a lot from, but if I could have, I probably would have just skipped that chapter. And that is life, and that's totally okay. So instead of holding on to resentment or holding a grudge or hating him, it's taken a couple years, but I've found ways in order to be thankful and grateful for the relationship. I don't think he's grateful for me, and that's totally okay. When we met, of course, I wanted him to be my boyfriend, but it was very much hot and cold. One minute we were on fire, we spent all our time together. He told his friends about me, I told my friends about him. We were holding hands in public, we were very public, and then the next minute it was nothing. It was that ghosted, but we were together all the time because we worked in the same environment, and just suddenly it was like I felt that I meant something to him, and then the next minute I meant nothing. And that kind of started this spiral of me genuinely thinking I was going insane because I couldn't understand why one minute he liked me and then the next minute he didn't. On the reverse side of it, I was a 20-year-old firecracker singer who had no idea what it meant to be loved or to love, and I just had opinions from other people who were telling me he was horrible, but I thought he was great, and I started partying a lot, which is totally normal for that age, but he was a bit older than me, and we were at very different parts of our lives, and there was absolutely no way that we could have found two puzzle pieces that fit together. It was never going to work, despite my efforts. Now, after 9 months of ups and downs and all this chaos, the relationship was done, and I was no longer working in the same environment that he was. And I was like, okay, now is the time that we can start moving past this and moving on. So we thought. Unfortunately, for 3 years, it was, again, hot and cold. And the longer that we were apart, the more I convinced myself that the relationship was good. But he was never mine. And I just remember telling my friends, being like, no, he's the one, and we'll be together. We just have to find our way on our own, and we'll find our way back to each other. And I just wish I could give 20, 21, 22-year-old Cassidy the biggest hug, because she had no idea what was coming to her and what real love is. And I convinced myself so much that I loved him. I lusted for him. It wasn't until I actually learned what love was and what real love feels like that I realized, oh, okay, this was just, attraction. This was being addicted to danger. With that all aside, that's kind of my experience with somebody who was never yours. We never made anything official. Like I said, it was hot and cold. It was all over the place, and it was drawn out for ages. Looking back now, it was just a waste of time. But I lived, I learned, and I'm definitely a better partner to my partner now, I think, because of my experience with my ex. That's the thing. This is my thing. What do you call them? What do you call the person that you almost dated? Oh, he's not my ex because he was never mine. I was never his. We never had a partnership. It's just, it's a bus stop in life. I think that was the hardest thing for me to begin with, of like, what even were we? What did our relationship mean? Why did we spend so much time together, and were the fights worth it? Because we used to fight like cats and dogs. It took so much emotional energy for no reward in the end. And I think that was the hardest thing for me, in order to find forgiveness for myself for holding on for so long, and forgiveness for him for dangling me on a string. You know, it took a lot of talking with my friends and my family, and that would be my first piece of advice, is find your core four or your group of people that you trust, that you can get all these feelings out. You know, I was so convinced that we were meant to be, and that it was normal to have such a toxic, it's not a relationship. I'm literally making myself laugh, because there's literally, I think we need to create a word. Like, they were my moment. But I had a group of, you know, my family was so understanding and patient with me, and my friends were, I don't know how they handled me. My best friend Megan, she used to just listen to me cry and rant about him and how we were supposed to be together. And now we talk about it, and she's like, I knew that you'd come to the realization, but it wasn't my job to get you there. And I'm so grateful for that, because it wasn't. It took me falling in love with myself and realizing that I didn't need somebody else to love me to heal. You know, in the words of RuPaul, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love somebody else, mama? I couldn't love anybody else. After him, it was just fling after fling and drinking and partying to fill a void that shouldn't have even been there. You know, looking back now, he mattered to me so deeply. I never mattered enough to him to love me or care for me. Because I asked him, I was like, we should be together. And I wasn't good enough, in his words. So toxic. I mean, I hope that your almost was a better experience than mine, because mine was just so toxic. But I know some of you out there also had the toxic pairing that just wasn't. And that's also okay. And it's okay to forgive them, or also not to forgive them. But I think the most important piece of advice I can give is that you can forgive yourself for the time that you spent with them. You know, if they ghosted you, if they treated you like garbage, or even if it was just a fling that you ended up getting feelings for and they couldn't reciprocate them. It's okay to not forgive them, and it's amazing when you can find forgiveness in yourself. It's funny, I remember I was 22 years old, almost 23, and I had wine night with my friends, and I'd been going on dates and flings with all these different guys. I mean, all these different guys. It was like 4, but you get my point. Not respecting myself. I mean, enjoying myself, but I know in my mind that I wasn't happy, and I wasn't happy with my behavior and how I was choosing to cope with the loss of an almost. I remember sitting there with my friends, and we were having wine, and I literally put my glass down. It was so dramatic, and I was like, I am swearing off men. And they were like, yeah. And I literally made a promise to myself that night. I was like, I'm done. I need to take care of me. I need to fall back in love with myself. And I don't need somebody else to love me in order for me to be fulfilled. And funny enough, that was the night that I met my fiance. But really, I put the energy out there that I'm okay. I can choose to forgive, and I can separate myself from the almost, from the maybe, and I can move on. And in doing that, you put the energy out, and the energy came directly back. I found forgiveness also through a new relationship. I remember speaking to Philip about this other guy, and him just getting tears in his eyes, because he loves me, and I think it hurt him so badly knowing that I convinced myself that that was love, the way the other guy treated me. My maybe. I can say now that there is no foolproof way to get over somebody you never actually dated. I think the most important thing is, after enough time and after enough life experiences, you start to cross that bridge into forgiveness, and you kind of realize, wow, I'm worth more than that. I don't need to be checking my phone every 5 seconds to see if he texted. I don't need to be, upset when he doesn't call. I don't need any of that. I don't need to be treated like garbage. I don't need to be told that I'm not enough. Because every single one of you, and I mean it, you are enough. If the person you were with never made you feel like you were good enough, or more extreme, told you weren't good enough, then baby, it's done there. Like, looking back now, I want you to literally look in the mirror and just be like, how did I let them control me for so long? How did I let somebody else who never loved me, who never was my partner, who never shared these serious experiences with, control me enough to make me believe that I wasn't worth loving? Because I am. My life after him was a turbulent train wreck of yes, no's, and maybes. But at the end of the day, I reached the exact destination that I needed to get to. And without those experiences that I shared with him, I do not think that I would be the woman I am today. And now, as a 26-year-old engaged woman, I can look back on that relationship and say thank you. Because he taught me about what I don't deserve. Because of him and the way he treated me and our experience together, I now know what I deserve. I now know what he did is not what I deserve. That I am enough. That I am funny. I am beautiful. I wake up and try and spread sunshine amongst the people that I love and cherish. And he made me feel like a rain cloud, unfortunately. And I look at that now and go, I feel so sorry for you. Because I genuinely believe that he had to make me feel worse about myself so that he felt better. It's not always so dramatic. There are those maybes that they just fizzled out. They stopped working and there was no next step. And that's so hard. That's so hard to deal with. And, you get to that point where you really say, why wasn't I enough? But you were. And if you weren't enough for them, then they sure as hell weren't enough for you. And the person or the experiences that you are going to have will be enough. And they'll make you feel like you're enough. And if it's that you never want to be in a relationship again, and you are the fun aunt or uncle that brings treats from around the world during the holidays, that's amazing. And you live your truth. But the most important way to heal is to just tell yourself every day that despite what they did to you and the way they treated you, that you were always enough. And if they couldn't see that, then that's on them. Mwah! I love you all. Thank you for watching, and let me know your experiences down in the comments. Please like and subscribe to my channel. We also do some fun stuff on Sundays where we do a little confessional. And I'm really excited for this next adventure with my channel. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope it was insightful. And I will see you next week.